Hey, you're here, I'm here. We got records, we got vinyl finds. I guess the thing I like most about making videos is really giving my opinion of why I like the music, rather than just showing a cover, a label, a description, and say it's pretty cool and move it on. You know, that's the exciting part, is finding the thing that I think is really interesting and telling you guys about it, instead of just, move along production line. So I've picked 4, and I'm going to be trying to be a bit more focused and really tell you what I like about them, and what I don't like about them, stuff like that in this video. So it should be a bit slower, and yeah. So just before I get into it, I was in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago and I bought a lot of the records. So I'm going to be showing records from Melbourne probably for the next couple of months that I picked up slowly. Something very cool that did happen, I mentioned before, I went to the Art Ensemble of Chicago show with the Necks, and I put up a review of my thoughts, which I shot basically about an hour after I got back, sort of thing. And I got an email from Roscoe Mitchell himself, which was really out of the blue. The man, the myth, Roscoe Mitchell, which was really amazing. And I couldn't quite believe it. I had to read it a few times. He said he found my video really engaging and interesting, and could I please send him the high-res video and audio of my review, because he would like to use it in lectures in Chicago, which is pretty amazing. So whatever I said there, he must have really enjoyed it, which is very cool. It's nice. I didn't expect that in any way. I had no idea that Roscoe Mitchell would be watching YouTube channels, and if I knew he was going to be watching, I probably wouldn't have done the room tour, which was all blurry and dark. But yeah, it just shows, who knows who's watching, really. So that was really cool. That was really nice. The first one is something that has been on my list for a long time, but to buy it in New Zealand was quite expensive, and I found a cheap copy in Melbourne while I was there. Look at that amazing cover straight away. This is a compilation from last year on Bedroom Suck Records, and it's called Midday Moon. So you probably can't see, but it tells you here in a little sticker. What this is a collection of ambient and experimental music from Australia and New Zealand, and it's focused around the years of, 1980 to 1995. Hang on, I'm gonna get a record. I'll be back. Anyway, as I was saying, I talked about this record previously, Antipodean Anomalies, and I sort of see this as a companion piece almost, even though they're released on 2 different labels and completely separately. There's a couple of the same artists on here, being Not Drowning Waving, the Australian band, and Free Radicals both appear. This one is definitely a more elaborate package, and I would say in terms of differences, this one is a lot more focused on the ambient side and less on the experimental side. I mean, it's still experimental, but it's definitely more about an atmosphere and a mood, whereas these are just quite interesting songs, quite unusual songs. It doesn't have a mood across the whole piece. I mean, it sort of does, but this really, as a concept, and it's called Midday Moon, and the artwork, it really is very evocative in my mind. I think of, I guess, big open spaces, dry deserts. I think of, I guess the outback of Australia in parts of this. It's just an absolutely beautiful package. Look at that for an instrument. Very cool.
like slower enigma.
That return to innocence.
Yeah.
It does. So yeah, I really like this. I mean, it's one of those things where, if standalone, if you heard this without the context of what it is, you know, it's not the best. You know, it's really good. It's not like, you know, the best ambient music. You know, it's not world-breakingly, you know, whatever. But it's in the context of this, I think it really works, and it's awesome. I'm really happy to have it. I really like it. It's really interesting to see what was happening in Australia and New Zealand. The weird thing is, though, there's only one artist from New Zealand on this, so I'm not sure why they could have just, from a marketing point of view, cut that and just had it as an Australian compilation, which would be kind of interesting. I guess they really wanted to have the one track in it, which is the Free Radicals one. Now, a lot of these people I'd not heard of. Only I think 3 or 4 I'd heard of the 2 LPs, and that was Not Drowning Waving, Helen Ripley Marshall, Free Radicals, and I heard of this guy here, the last track by Ernest H. Tout. I know that because there's a copy in my local record store, and I've always been interested into seeing what it is. So yeah, you get these really lovely labels here. Obviously, we need to replace the paper sleeve and a really nice insert. But yeah, this is fantastic. It does conjure up images of, I guess, strange, surreal, open, expansive areas. Maybe the opposite of midday sun, dry heat, or being in the desert out at nighttime. It's the music, when you look at the art and as a whole concept, I think works fantastically well. And this is a new release from my good friend Gianmarco, who I hopefully will be catching up with soon-ish. I'm going to be up in Auckland. I haven't actually told you yet if you're watching, but I'll be up in Auckland soon, so I might be able to try and catch up with you. That'd be really cool. This is the new release by Tom Ludvigsson and Gianmarco Liguori, and it's called Espiritu, Santo Variations. Now, look at that for a cover straight away. This is another one where your imagination can really play into the way you hear this music, I guess. And reading the liner notes really helps you sort of move that imagination around as you're listening. And but basically what is said here in these notes is this was recorded around the time of the local Pacifica Festival, which happens in Auckland every year. And from memory, it happens in the summertime. And they sort of both wrote that they were inspired by Pacific music, and Tom spent a lot of time out in Espiritu Santo, which is a place in Vanuatu, one of the Pacific Islands. So when I hear this music, I can hear touches of Pacific rhythms, and I can hear, it might not necessarily be true, but I imagine the space to be quite hot and warm, but not in a tropical way, because they're playing really sort of almost industrial sounds and textures, but the rhythms there's something a little bit Pacific about it, but I can't really put my finger on it. And then, I guess tied in with this artwork, which reminds me of almost like some sort of Pacific pattern on a roof or a building, and coupled with the color scheme and I guess the photo here, it really sort of ties in as a cool package. And I'm talking a lot of rubbish here because this is all what I'm sort of hearing in my head and putting together. But yeah, it's really wonderful, textured album. Industrial maybe isn't the right word, but it's quite not repetitive either. But it's quite heavy in texture and rhythm, I guess, is what's really interesting. I really, really like it. And it's one of those records where I can tell that I'm going to forget how good it is, and every time I put it on, I'm going to be blown away. So yeah, this is a new release, came out this year on Gianmarco's label, Sarang Bang Records. As you know, I think I've pretty much talked about every release from this label. I really recommend it. And I know a lot of you guys do in America too, which is really cool. I know quite a few people snap up those records. I'll put a link as usual down below. Yeah, highly recommended. I genuinely really like this. Really cool. You're setting a high bar, man. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't feel the pressure, but yeah. All right, so moving on. Now these next two I bought in a record store called Round and Round, which used to be my local record store when I lived in Melbourne. And the covers sort of match, and you'll see why in a sec. And I've been sort of after them. I'm not going to say they were, you know, huge want listers, but I've been aware of them and I've sort of been intrigued by them, and I've heard bits online here and there, but this is the first one. Spaced Out by Thesa. This is a really interesting record. Originally it was a private press that came out in less than 100 copies. It got recently put out in 2015 as a reissue on Left Ear Records, which is an Australian label, I'm pretty sure. Now, what is this? It's a weird cross. I should say it's from Maryland, I think, obviously in the USA. It's like a mixture of disco and funk and just really heavy, spacey sound effects and psychedelics. I'll put some audio in here to try and explain it to you. But yeah, it's a really, really nice mixture of heavy grooves and almost hints of library music, I guess, in here. There's, you know, saxophones and string ensembles and yeah, I guess funky bass lines, and yeah, it's really good. I really like this. The track checkout is just called Spaced Out. Yeah, lovely. I've saved the one that I'm not on board with 100% as of yet. In saying that, I've only listened to it, you know, 2 or 3 times, and in saying that, I listened to it 1.5 times on the wrong speed. Well done, James. This is a 2018 reissue that is sort of unofficial of the library classic Stringtronics Mindbender. Now, first up, it's nowhere near, if you don't know it, it's nowhere near as psychedelic as the cover and the name would entail. Now, this is a library record from the UK. Yeah, it is from the UK. You know, the tracks like Mediterranean, Dawn Mists, Afro Samba. So it's there's a mixture of music for certain themes, but the way it's done is just really beautiful. Like just really nice use of strings, and there's sort of like some funky drumming going on, and I can absolutely see how this will be and it is known as a classic for sampling. Really wonderful production. First time I heard it, I heard Axelrod, but what the fuck do I know? I just, you know, he's just a name that's popular and it's a sound, so I put them together because that's all I know. So yeah, it's good. It's really good, but I listened to it once on the wrong speed because it's a 45 RPM record, and I was listening to it on 33, and I was like, okay, this is really nice and groovy and mellow. And then I put it up to the right speed, and it seemed the strings just seemed a bit too quick or something like that, and it took me a while to get my head back into it being the right speed. So that's my fault, so I can't complain about that. But yeah, it's good. It's just there's parts that don't really do it for me. I think it's one of those things where it's probably got the reputation because there's some really nice tracks that are amazing to sample. But as a solid album all the way through, it could be a grower. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it and I'm going to give it more time. But I like it. So there we go. Okay, that's the end of that. That was 4 records. I have a lot more to get through. But I don't want to rush them, and I don't want to have a video where I show like 20 in one, and I don't know. I want to honor the records and honor the music. So that's all. Thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye.